I've never seen someone fake a Tag Heuer before. What's weird is that there's parts of it, the parts that would generally be very shitty on a fake don't look bad. But there's parts like, if you look at the hands, there's a lot of machining around the hands, which is generally the first giveaway that it's a fake. It's got a lot of machining around the hands, like very, very rough. But then when you look at the dial and the paint on the dial, it's really, really good. We're gonna have to go see Fabian today. So like, right here, this one, the 30 looks uneven, but then the marker in the chrono doesn't line up, and generally these would line up in between the 3 and the 0, and then it's also not centered to the marker above it. And then if I come above that, look at the straight line from the top point right here, from the 60 all the way down to the 30. That should generally be in a straight line. You know, one of my first signs generally on spotting fakes is very rough. Sorry, this is hard. Look, see that rough machining around the hands? All over that. That's generally a sign that a watch was put together very poorly and very fast. When you look at that right there, all that rough machining, that's generally a sign. Like, you'll see that on fake Rolexes, like brand new modern Rolexes, all that rough machining. You'll see that on a watch that's 2 or 3 years old. There's no reason those hands should have all that rough machining. But then again, this watch is not 2 or 3 years old. This watch is probably at least 10 years old. It's weird, the inconsistencies, if this is in fact fake, which I'm gonna go ahead and say it is.
You think the watch, when they buy it, is real, but they take it to surfers, and then this, you mean the service people swap out some of the part?
Yeah. I'm gonna take it by Fabian today after we eat and have him give me his opinion so I can get a second opinion, but I think it's fake. Liz, will you go get that black tag? It should be in the box up there. Yeah, I'm gonna take it by and have him take it apart and see if he can verify whether it's fake or not. Oh. Really?
Hey, I never went upstairs.
Oh my God. Wow.
We ended up rushing out. I never went upstairs.
Liz, will you go get that black tag? It should be in the box up there.
I know.
Well, I didn't come empty-handed. Liz forgot the tag that I wanted you to check out. This has a couple of handling marks on it. Is there any chance I can get that touched up and back today?
Yeah, you'll get all your stuff is done.
Really?
Heads are done. I'm just finishing the bands. They're washing now.
Awesome.
So
That's fast.
because I have another like 8 pieces I gotta give due. They're due by tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
So this is just a bracelet.
It's just from some handling marks in and out of a case.
Hairlines.
So we are going to go
Pick up the
back
tire.
to my office, and Liz is gonna run upstairs and
Yep.
grab her piece,
Yep.
and we'll be back. Okay.
You're gonna take it.
Okay.
I do with pretty much all the dealers, you know.
Okay.
I love how Anthony couldn't just call and be like, hey, like, can you bring down the tag? He was like, can you bring down the tag since Liz forgot it? But how are you gonna tell me to go do something and then immediately tell me to do something else? And then be like, okay, let's leave.
What's up, buddy? Here you go.
Cool. Let me open
That's the one. I brought a second one just because it came from the same guy. This one I'm pretty sure is okay because I've had this watch before. It's this one I've never had.
it. Okay, so I looked at it right away. It's no good.
No good?
No.
Okay. All of it or just parts? So there was 2 things that I had because there's some of them were finishes that are normally really hard to do and are obviously done fake. They looked okay. And then parts that generally didn't seem bad
I mean,
on fakes were done what looked like right.
normally, so if you compare these 2 movements, just look at the finishing of them. Right away you can tell. This movement looks really dark, real, like it didn't get finished correctly. These companies,
This one's legit.
super, yeah,
This one's legit.
super clean. This one looks really
Okay.
dark. Usually I've seen a lot of Panerais coming like that, and Panerais are tricky. If you don't know what you're doing with Panerais, they're really, really tricky.
Is this a real jewel in here?
Well, they're real jewels, but the
Okay. I haven't dealt with tags in a long time, but when I look at the rotor of this, the rotor doesn't look bad for how old of a watch this is. The rest of it, though, when I'm looking at the bolts,
when you
Like
look
you'll
up
see,
at-
like there's really rough indentions in the bolts, and there's
Yeah.
part of ones that like they're shaved out, but they're not properly
right. Even if you
shaved.
look at the movement
Mhm.
under the rotor, the automatic rotor,
Yeah.
you see the finishing on the very edge of it. There's like lines that are not consistent. You know, it looks really
right.
rough. When you loop at this, just look at the finish. It's just basically super bright. You know, the swirl finishing.
Right. I
is
mean,
really
just from
complete.
first glance, this one looks amazing.
Yeah.
So I got that a couple days ago. The same gentleman that sent me these 2 tags sent me the Platinum Date 8, a Pepsi, a root beer. I mean, I picked up like 9 watches
Big
in
package,
all. Like,
right.
and these were just like little
You had to take the package
bullshit
with it,
watches that he's like, yeah, these are like some of my first watches. Now
So
that I
that-
think about it, and so it's like you look at the Rolex, you look at the big stuff, and you glance at these. I've owned this watch. This was the first watch I ever
Uh-huh.
sold as a white dial, so I know this one. I owned it personally for a long time.
Another big
This
giveaway
one
for
I've never
me.
even had.
So
personally.
look at this. Look at this gold wheel. You'll see the reflection of it, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to see the finish of it.
Okay.
So that wheel looks, you know,
They should be smooth.
real
shouldn't
smooth and shiny.
It? It's like they cut this out of
Right.
a piece. It looks like they have like.
So if you start looking at the rest of the movement, at the other wheels and other
yeah.
parts, it starts looking really choppy, really, you know, poorly made.
That's
And
always throwing me off. Is
Tag Heuer doesn't do that. They've been around
No.
for a long time. So for them to let something like that slip out of their, you know,
yeah,
their
there's too
facilities.
many
Yeah,
inconsistencies.
exactly.
Not sure why, but somebody tried to sell us a fake $1,000 watch. But the other $140,000 worth of watches he gave us were real. So I'm not going to say that he tried to do this intentionally. I think that was a gift from somebody and he just didn't know.
Yeah.
And he said it was like his first watch. So.
He probably bought it not knowing it was a fake.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hey, what time is our thing? 2:50? We got to run.
Cool.
Can I grab these from you later when I come
Yeah,
back and
we
get
can
all the
buy
rest of the
other
stuff? I'll just leave those here. I appreciate the help on that.
Cool. Yeah.
That's why
Got
you
the
have
Daytona?
always have a watchmaker ready.